Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
Where we continue to follow the capture and killing of Osama bin Laden now.
Those are just some of the scenes overnight as thousands of Americans gathered in celebration of Osama bin Laden's death.
Former Navy SEAL Rob O'Neill says he has thought about the mission every day since that May Day in 2011.
From multiple conversations you had with Rob O'Neill over the past year and a half, how'd you get
access? And you described that his head kind of exploded when you hit him.
I actually hit him 3 times because I shot him twice when he was standing and once on the ground.
That is the fucking American badass right there.
We are not going for fame and we are not going for bravado. We are going for the single mom who dropped her kids off at elementary school on a Tuesday morning, and then 45 minutes later she jumped to her death out of a skyscraper.
If you need help, hang up and then dial your operator.
I'm Rob O'Neill, and this is the Operator Podcast.
Oh, here we are. Episode 25. That's like the quarter century mark of the Operator Podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Robert J. O'Neill. I am no longer in Montana, but I was just in Montana, and actually the reason I went there was to have my very first interview, episode number 24, with my brother Tom O'Neill, my older brother Tom. If you didn't catch it, check it out. It's pretty funny. I think it was a good back and forth. I always enjoy talking to my brother. He's the reason I can tell a good story or a good joke. He doesn't talk quite as fast as I do, but I think the banter was pretty good back and forth. I have listened to it again, and there are some pretty funny jokes in there with some jokes and stories that I'm not sure were intended, but I caught them on the second end, so they're pretty good. It was good to be in Butte, Montana, my home. It was fun to fly out of my home, Butte, Montana, because I don't fly out of Butte, Montana because there is only one airline that flies in and out of Butte, and we will not mention them. But I drive to Bozeman, Montana, where I can fly United Airlines. American Airlines, another great airline, also flies out of there, but the direct flight, I was going to go to New York, so it flies to New Jersey. And if you can't fly to New Jersey, then fuck you. And no, New Jersey's great. New Jersey gets a bad rep, though, because their rap is bad because a lot of people that used to fly into New Jersey to go to New York for whatever meetings, anything from Hollywood people coming out to get on TV or go to the UN or whatever, they fly into Newark, New Jersey, which I'm sure the people of Newark are fine people, but it's not, it's a Butte, Montana of the East Coast. It's kind of an eyesore. You fly in there, a lot of refineries, a lot of gas, stuff that does run the country and run your everyday life, but it's not fun to look at, and you think it's killing the planet. So you see that, but I apparently up and down the Eastern Shore, not the Eastern Shore, that's Maryland, but connected. The Jersey Shore are apparently, the word I get, are some of the nicest beaches around. I'm not going to check them out because it is February. It's January. It's going to be February. I'm not a big East Coast beach guy in the winter time because we did do a lot of that in the SEAL teams. I've been cold before. I mean, it's fine. I can do it, but it's not one of my things. I don't go out just to be cold. I also don't go out just to be hot. That's another thing, too, with all these farms, chicken farms and egg farms blowing up because we need to get rid of the chickens because, eggs are one of the best sources of protein that you can have, and I think everyone, since we can get an egg, even the Flintstones would eat eggs because they're great protein, wonderful for breakfast. Obviously everything goes with bacon, like dessert goes with bacon, bacon-covered donuts, but when you think of eggs, you think of bacon, and you think of breakfast. But yeah, they're destroying the eggs. They're apparently the word on the street is that the feed is bad that they're given to these farmers, so the chickens aren't laying eggs. And chickens are, it used to be what came first, the chicken or the egg, but now apparently it's just the fucking chicken because a lot of them aren't laying eggs. And, again, conspiracy, whatever, but for some reason they're getting rid of the eggs, and the egg prices are going up. If you notice that too, the egg prices are going up because what they're getting at is they want us to eat bugs. The reason I got, to this point was I said I have been cold. I know how to be cold. I've eaten bugs. It's out of necessity, either out of necessity or out of training, knowing what you can and can't survive on. And I'm a big believer too. Like anything's edible if you're brave enough. It's like a dildo. You brave enough? It can be, but the new world order, the Great Reset, they're trying to get us to eat bugs, and they're going to start putting bugs and grasshoppers. I mean, people even on TV right now are eating crickets, or celebrities are eating those bugs to prove, look at me. Oh, I want more. Give me more. And like pretending on TV to fight over them because, man, these bugs are edible. Yeah, so is my fucking hat. You can eat a plane if you have enough time. But they're proving this shit, and they want us to go to bugs. And the bullshit that they're giving us is that, well, the animal's flatulence and what the fuck ever is killing the planet. And this is all nonsense, too, by the way. They are brainwashing a lot of younger people to think that farming is the leading cause of climate change. Fuck off. Look at whales. There's like 3 times as many sheep as there are people. And I'm pretty sure it's been like that for a while. And I'm pretty sure the people have made sheep a staple of their diet and a lot of stuff that they make. The clothes they wear, sheep are fine. Sheep fart. Guess what? So do we. So do deer. Things have been farting for a long, long time. A single volcano, I think, farts more than every animal in the world. I'm off on a tangent right now. I haven't compared farts to volcanoes, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty big. Like when whoever blew up Gulf Stream 2 or whatever, Nord Stream 2, the pipeline in Russia, that we definitely had, if we didn't do it, we had something to do with it. Everything coming out of there is worse than the methane that comes out of a cow's ass. But and it might just be because the people that are stronger than us, or that have the power, I don't even know if it's to the point where they're just doing it to see how dumb will these fuckers do it. What will they do that we tell them to do? Let's see if we can lock them in their houses for a year. Let's see if we can have them put masks on their face and get banned from a certain airline that only flies into Butte, Montana, because he took one off because he wanted to eat some of his nut. Not my nuts. I can't eat these nuts, but I mean some nuts that they serve me, I could eat those nuts. I can't eat these nuts. The point that I was getting at there, though, is all the stuff that's going on. Are they trying to blow up the eggs? Whatever. They're trying to make us eat bugs. I know how to eat bugs. I can eat bugs. I don't need to prove I need to eat bugs. And if they're saying that, well, we need to eat bugs to get rid of here's how we get rid of the cows. Eat the fucking cow. We're going to eat the steak. But because that will be next. If it is true that they're coming after the eggs and they're coming after the dairy and they're making all of us eat the bugs, they're coming after the beef next. And then they're coming after the pigs. And that means the bacon. And we must take a stand, man, somewhere. But anyway, flying back from Montana, before I got into my bug, the bug eating thing, yes, we can survive on bugs. I didn't like eating. I know how to sleep outside. I'm not doing it again on purpose. If I am sleeping outside and eating bugs, it's because something went horribly wrong. And I assure you, before I start eating bugs again, it's because I ran out of people to eat. And that's why we have shotguns. And we're not getting onto that this episode. But the flight out from Bozeman, Montana. So I have to drive to Bozeman, Montana. There was a direct flight because, like I said, I needed to get to New Jersey for some reason. So I'm flying out to New Jersey. On the way over there, and I've mentioned that you saw me mention it possibly in a few tweets. If you don't follow at Mikuya, MCHOOYAH, at Mikuya, it's a lot of fun, tongue-in-cheek. For God's sakes, never lose your sense of humor. Sometimes I'm just joking. Back yourself off the ledge, have a beetle. But on the ride over, I get to go through over the Homestake Pass, home of the Homestake Lakers, which is not a real team, into Bozeman, and then we get to fly out. What I enjoyed about that is walking through the Bozeman Airport, which is a nice airport, the Gallatin Valley Airport. It's been expanding since I was a kid. I actually got I made a joke on Instagram, which also Amazon Mike HOOIAH Mikuya. I made a joke that said this is the Bozeman International Airport. A little known fact: this is where Lewis and Clark landed when they flew in from the East Coast. I wasn't serious. They didn't fly in; they walked in, and they didn't land there because there were no airplanes. We'll get into the Wright brothers later. I believe that was North Carolina, not the beautiful Jersey Shore. But anyway, because of the show Yellowstone, I'm not sure if you've seen it. Excellent show. It's based in Yellowstone Park, which is a big national park. Mainly, get a load of this, mainly in Wyoming. But the gateway is in through Montana. So Montana, first of all, I understand why Montanans get a little bit pissed that Montana's getting so popular because of the show Yellowstone. You don't hear shit from Wyoming. They're cool. They're just down there being square. Right? But Montana gets all the credit, and I can actually see why they're getting a little bit pissy, because because people have become aware of Montana, a lot of people are moving in there, and a lot of people from California, a lot of people from the East Coast, and that's great. Man, I come enjoy it. I think it's awesome. I am from Montana, but getting on this flight, it was a Friday, and I'm flying back to the East Coast, and all of these people who either bought property in Montana or know someone who has property, or just stayed at the Lewis and Clark Hotel in Bozeman and checked out. Let's go to Bozeman, Montana, so we can see a real Starbucks or whatever the shit they do. But they're all getting back on the plane, and they're all dressed like they're from Montana, but they're all getting on a glorious flight back to Jersey, and people are dressed everything from pretend snow bunnies to pretend mountain climbers to pretend cowboys. The women with their big fancy boots and the no spurs. I don't think you're allowed to have those on a plane, but they got the big fluffy what have yous, and guys with the hats. But it's just a little bit off. Like, you can sort of tell you're not quite from here. It's like when I mentioned the Norwegians that came down to Virginia Beach, and they're hanging out and they speak English, but it's like European English, and it's just a little bit off. It's like when you see, it's like you ever seen, for like the veterans especially, have you ever seen Stolen Valor? And you just look at someone and something's off. So it's like, and what I would see is I would see the people that would have the mountaineering backpack. And look, I've talked about flights before, and it's okay. And it's fun to watch people, and if you just take a breath and realize we're all just trying to do the same thing, if you sit back and watch, it's kind of fun to see people do stuff. An annoying person that I've found is Backpack Guy. Okay, and he's the person. He either coincides, is traveling with, or is the doesn't look around when he turns his backpack guy. Like he doesn't realize that huge hump on his back, and when he turns, he smacks you with it, right? And I like to sit at the front of the plane, and he'll turn and smack, and fine, whatever. But now these guys, they went skiing, so there's no way they can check their luggage and put their stupid fucking ski helmet in their checked luggage. They got to strap it on there, like they're going to the top of Denali, along with their Nalgene bottle. And you can't put it in the thing. You got to carabiner it. And we used to call those like a gypsy pack. Like you just see shit jingling, and like when someone, if they're skiing, they hit shit and stuff goes flying everywhere. They have a yard sale. That's the guy. So they're on there just bumping each other, and they're all just, oh, hey, how are you? Where you, whatever, going. And they talk about, I just got a place up in Kalispell. I don't know why they're not flying out of Kalispell or whatever. And then you got their kids there. And their kids look, everyone's getting along. We're all getting along just fine. But, speaking of like Yellowstone, they reminded me of, if you haven't seen 1883, it's outstanding. It's fucking outstanding. And it's the prequel to Yellowstone. It's how the Dutton family got to Bozeman. They were planning on going to Oregon, I think, and they start in Texas, like in Fort Worth. And then they're like straight up wagon training it. Like, you get bit by a rattlesnake, you're dead. You get dysentery, you're dead. You drink the wrong water, you're dead. Too much time in the sun, you die. Too much time in the snow, you die. But there's this group of cowboys, and it's an excellent show. I mean, the show is outstanding. I'm not by any means saying anything bad. I love it. I've actually watched that twice, the whole thing. But there's these tough cowboys and a tough family, the Dutton family, and they're going to go up there. But one of the things they're doing, they get linked up with some tough former soldiers, and you got like former Confederate, former Union guys, and they're all going to work together. But they got this train of Europeans who they came from Europe to escape a horrible life, but then they come here and now they want to go to Oregon for a new life. But like, they think it's like when I made the joke about Lewis and Clark flying, it's like, I think these people think they were taking a train the whole way because they did to Texas. Now we're walking to Oregon from Texas. And I don't know if you've been out west, but we have out west what you call big states, and that's when we're flying. Like, when I'm flying out of Dallas somewhere, you can look down in a few hours, you're still in Dallas, right? There are parts of Texas that are closer to San Diego than they are to Dallas, right? It's big ass state. So they're going to walk, and there's a part of 1883 where they need to cross the Brazos, which is a river, right? And they have these know-nothing, dumb as the day is long, turds with ears that want to cross this river, and they're explaining to them, like, look, you need to get rid of this shit. Like, you need to bring what you need to live. We'll make new shit. Like, there were people ditching pianos out of the back of their wagons. And it's like the people who had been there that actually made the trek before, like, what are these idiots thinking? So that's what I'm thinking on this flight. Like, how are you're Patagonia with the shit and the stuff, and you got a kid and he's carabiner to your fucking thing, and they're bashing each other. But the funny thing is, everyone's in a good mood, and they're all like, you're right, where are you from? Where, Kalispell, this. No, I got a place in Ennis, and I was thinking about, and they're just talking, and we're all hitting each other with it. I'm trying to sit there and enjoy my drink or whatever. And someone finally looks to me and goes, so where are you from? And I go, New York. And so anyway, but we're getting on this thing, and before we even get on the plane, because I don't know if you agree with me, but it's a silly ass world out there, and there's shit up is down, down is up. Like the other day, the Empire State Building in New York City, because I was still in New York, the Philadelphia Eagles won the NFC Championship, and the Empire State Building lit the top of it up in green and white for Eagles colors, and the official Twitter page of the Empire State Building in New York City said, "Fly Eagles fly." Now, if you're not familiar with football, the Eagles hate the Giants, and the Giants are from New York. And so the New York Giants, they tweeted back. All they said was with a retweet, "I'm just here for the comments." The point I'm making is, up is down, down is up. You see the weirdest shit if you just look. Don't be surprised. But one of the things I want to bring up is service animals, or what do they call them? Mental awareness or healing animals. And people were really taking advantage of this shit, especially during COVID. Like there were people bringing like Shetland ponies and peacocks. Remember that shit? And then the service animals are fine too. And I mean, service animals, if it's a service animal, is awesome. Like if there's a veteran who has a service animal that's protected by federal law, and they can fly in the main cabin, as long as they're typically, obviously, extremely well behaved. These are good dogs, and they sit at the feet. A veteran with PTSD, or to some extent, people that have PTSD that haven't been in combat, because it gets taken advantage of, especially by veterans. I mean, I see some people, with a big hot chocolate and a ho-ho, and then you know what I'm saying? You've seen her. They don't necessarily need to have a service animal, but they do. But some of these, they're real dogs. They're all real dogs. It's not the dog's fault. Some people take advantage. But like if you see a Malinois like we brought into combat, or if you see, some of the dogs, and that's great. And if people need an emotional support dog, that's fine. And even if, you bring your little dog, even if they're yappy, whatever. All right, cat lady, come on. I mean, I grew up with cats, but a cat, that's just, come on. I'm not even allergic to them. My eyes are starting to water. But down is up is down. As long as we are in the days of you can identify as anything. I saw this dude up there. He's walking in front of me. Gets on the plane first because he's got a service animal. This dog is a very well behaved, very well groomed boxer. Now, I don't know if you've been to combat. We don't bring boxers. Malinois, Dutch Shepherd, German Shepherd, maybe. A boxer, not really. I mean, we can't bring pit bulls anymore because, there are rules in war. We're there to kill, but we're not there to rip a motherfucker's face off. But this dude's got a boxer, and he's a good-looking dog. And a good-looking man. This motherfucker's groomed too, if you know what I'm saying. He looks good, smells good, but he's got this damn vest on. This dog has this service vest. And if you look, now there are patches and there are flags. Now flags, not necessarily flags of countries, but it's very well placed. I'm kind of looking. I'm like, not anywhere on this dog does it say where he served or do not pet or this dog is working. This motherfucker's just he's kind of he's dressed up for the show, if you know what I'm saying. And one of the patches he has on it says hero dog. And so the guy's walking on. He kind of gets he can get on there first. Never said he was a vet. Never said he was in combat. But he's got a hero dog, so they let him on. Whatever. I didn't talk to the guy. He seemed very nice. Everyone on the flight was nice. I'm just poking fun at people. The dog was beautiful, man. Boxers are beautiful dogs. And the dog behaved himself. Never saw him again. Heard from some of the kids that were dressed as cowboys and alpinists and coal miners or whatever the fuck they do up there. But yeah, so we flew to New York and it was awesome. But hero dog. That word hero gets thrown around a lot lately. Have you noticed that? A hero? Like during COVID? Like walking past the post office, the big sign out front that says, heroes work here. I'm like, really? Like, Buzz Aldrin's in there fucking slinging mail? What the fuck? What do you mean a hero works here? You mean someone that didn't lose a paycheck during COVID, which at first was fine, and it was great. And again, anyone who's working during COVID, we didn't know what the fuck was going on, good on you. I used to tip the shit out of the grocery store lady. Anyone who was what they would call essential personnel. And for me, that was like, hey, dude at the Packy, here's an extra 40. Thanks for the rock whiskey. But yeah, Buzz Aldrin. You know, speaking of Buzz Aldrin being a hero, which obviously he is. I think I've mentioned him on the past 2 podcasts. I'm mentioning him one more time because I mentioned him 2 podcasts ago, and I suggested I might have said something like "God rest his soul," and I didn't pay attention. He's alive, and he just got married for the 4th time, dog. You hear that? Buzz Aldrin got married for the 4th time, and he and his wife, they said, we are as excited as eloping teenagers. And if you're 94 or 93, however, he was born in the 30s, bro. If you're still excited, that's great. I think that's awesome. Excited as a teenager. He's if you're not familiar, Buzz Aldrin was on Apollo 11, landed on the moon, walked on the moon, second guy on the moon. The Apollo mission was, 11 missions. The Apollo missions were sent to the moon. 6 out of 7 walked on the moon. 4 of the 11 dudes, 12 human beings walked on the moon, walked or drove on the moon, which is fun if you start looking at that too, because I love the conspiracy theories. Because Buzz Aldrin, I brought him up because he made some shit go sideways a couple weeks ago, but I saw it a few weeks ago when they said, what was the most dangerous part of the mission to the moon? He said, well, that it didn't happen, or something like that. So, but he's also been the guy when an investigative reporter back in the day before a lot of social media said, well, you didn't walk on the moon. He punched him in the face, which is great. So if you're in your 90s, you're punching people in the face, you're excited as a teenager, and you got married for the 4th time, world's your oyster. But I guess, so Apollo 13 obviously didn't land on the moon. The other ones did. 12 human beings walked on the moon, 4 still alive. So that's Buzz Aldrin, David Scott, Charles Duke, and then, so Charles Duke was Apollo 16, David Scott was 15, Buzz Aldrin was Apollo 11. I don't know if I said whatever. Apollo 11, one of 2 guys to land, and then Harrison Schmitt, Apollo 17. And I think the last mission, again, that's the end of my notes. I think the last mission was 1972. And there are 4 guys that walked on the moon still alive. So when Buzz Aldrin's done hammering away, you might get your chance to ask him or ask one of the other 3 guys, because the conspiracy theorists are everywhere. I was watching them today. Did we go to the moon? Did we land on the moon? And seeing a lot of the bullshit that happens around. I'm not saying a word. As far as I know, they put some stuff down on the moon as far as like mirrors that you can still hit with lasers from different observatories that'll shine right back. It could be solved that easy. Apparently, we're going to land on it again. And it was another one, too. It was funny. Why in the 60s did it take us 6 days to get to the moon? Now it's going to take us 9 days. Don't know. I'm not an astronaut. I don't know, but all the conspiracies are everywhere. If you get a chance to ask them, ask them. I actually had a chance to have dinner with an astronaut that famously was singing. He was on the moon, and there's video and audio of him singing that I was dancing on the moon one day, something like that. He's doing whatever. One of the last, I think, he was the last man on the moon. That was Gene Cernan. And he has passed. God rest his soul. Wonderful man. We had a great time talking together, we broke some bread down in Dallas, Texas a number of years ago, and I was able to sit at the table with him. And it was fun for me because this was one of the evenings where, I get a lot of shit about people want to hear the Bin Laden story, and it's like, I will tell you if you ask, but if you don't want to hear, just don't ask. But this was one of the nights where nobody cared about my story, and they wanted to talk to Gene Cernan, and he is a hero. Look what is happening with the dollar, and is it even real? The dollar just hit a 7-month low, and we all saw what happened with the crypto market last year. Why would you trust your hard-earned savings in unstable governments that print their way out of debt or other shady investments? Take my advice. Protect your financial future with something real. That's gold and silver from my friends at Allegiance Gold. Allegiance Gold can help protect your IRA or 401k with physical gold and silver, or, if you prefer, have it delivered securely right to your front door. I've been all over the planet, and there is only one universal currency, and that is always a value, and that's gold. Allegiance Gold has some of the highest ratings in the industry. 5 stars with TrustLink, AAA rated with the Business Consumer Alliance, and an A+ from the Better Business Bureau. Go to protectwiththeoperator.com and get up to $2,500 of free silver on a qualifying purchase when you tell them the operator sent you. Or give them a call at 844-790-9191. That's 844-790-9191. We can't control the Biden administration, but we can prepare for the consequences of their policies. So go to protectwiththeoperator.com. That's protectwiththeoperator.com, or give them a call at 844-790-9191. But yeah, that's the big flight. That's the evolution of travel from Montana to the East Coast. And the evolution of everything. I also tweeted out that it was 27 years ago that I checked into boot camp, that I left Montana as a 19-year-old kid and went to Great Lakes, Illinois. And it's just crazy how fast time does fly. You know, it's always good to look ahead and have a plan for the future, but don't forget to live in the moment, because not to take my hat off and sound like an old man, but that's how time just seems to fly by. 27 years. A lot has happened from the time I accidentally joined the Navy, accidentally got on that airline from Butte, Montana. I heard my brother Tom, who I just interviewed last week, yell, "Good luck, Rob," and then there we go. And then everything just happens because you're there in the moment, there for a reason, and there simply because you decide you want to be there. And just looking, I actually have the, I don't know if it's a yearbook or whatever they give you. For some reason, I think they have, like, you do take your kick-ass sailor picture when you put on the kick-ass Cracker Jack hat, and you got the flag behind you. You don't know if you're supposed to mean mug or smile. If you're a Marine, you're supposed to mean mug. I don't know what soldiers do, but sailors are good to go with pretty much anything. You get that, they put it in a book, and you can look through it later for some reason. And they, as you go through boot camp, you have all these different flags and stuff that you get for different shit that you win or whatever. And there's like a thing called the Battle E, which is the big one that you put in front. I don't even remember for stupid division got it, but it's just so funny. It's the difference between perception and reality. It's like today. When people watch talking heads fight on CNN or watch them on Fox News or whatever you watch, it's like I'm on this side and there's someone else on TV, and they know more about it. These are experts, and look at the politicians that are obviously speaking. They got to be smart. No, they're not. They're just a dude on TV. They're just a dude with a dude standing behind him with a camera, and they're talking to it. You're a guy, and you don't. Some of these people don't realize. I didn't certainly at first realize that when you go to boot camp, you're not flying from Burt Mooney International Airport to Paris Island, and you're going to be with Private Joker on, Full Metal Jacket. It's you're going to a place that is essentially, and you wouldn't realize it at the time, you're going to a place as kids, and you're going to be instructed by other kids. Like I remember looking at some memes today of some, and I wasn't in the Marine Corps, but looking at some drill instructors, or whatever, posing for their picture, and that's, you might have seen it with there's some, God bless him, recruit behind him flipping them off. But the guys, the drill instructors, they're kids, man. What's an E6? 28, and there's a couple E5s in there, just young dudes, and then you're a kid there. These guys, all they're doing is what they're told, and they're following a structured plan for what they were told by a chief who's probably 32, 33, maybe in the Navy, popping the buttons at 35 or something, whatever. You got a couple adults in the room. I mean, what are the officers? The officers running the companies are kids. What, an 02? He's still shitting Academy chow. But you show up, and then you got these dudes. I remember seeing these kids that would think they need to talk like they're in the movie. Like, you got to use, well, I know they have to in the Marine Corps. I guess you can't say nothing is mine, it's this recruit or whatever they say. But like, I remember being there the first day when you're in the roundup, and some dude that's like standing all barrel chested out with a long, slender torso like a fucking meerkat. And he's like looking at the thing, and like the recruit division commander or whatever you call him says, what he's like, this recruit requests permission to use the can. Because he didn't think of the head, because we'd been there a day. The shit are you talking about, kid? And I remember seeing a dude, they're lucky that we got in the line and got measured, got our head shaved, and were able to find a place with bunk beds. And then the bunk bed class is almost as long as the marching class, a couple of weeks to learn how to make your bed, and you learn the shortcuts here and there. But I remember a kid in my division, which I guess is your room full of kids, your division, and he was a sea cadet, I guess you call it, and that's like the high school Navy version of Boy Scouts or some shit like that. I'm sure it's great. I'm sure they're great. But he was raised in a privileged family, and he I think he had a degree, but he thought he spoke the proper Navy lingo, which is like the whole, if you're walking on one side of an officer, you're by your leave, sir, and aye or some whatever. I don't know. But I guess he knew a certain way to respond to a mistake that a senior NCO or petty officer or chief or whatever made. And I guess by the book, and I've never even looked it up because I got afraid at this moment, this dude was one of the recruit division commanders, was talking to this kid who thought he knew everything about the Navy, and he kind of stuttered his words, and the stupid-ass Ricky recruit said, "As you were." And I guess that's technically whatever, but you got to figure this dude he just said "as you were" to just finished 4 years on a ship, and he's doing shore duty, and he's a dude trying to get on with his life, and he's just pissed off because you got to figure if they're waking us up at 3, that motherfucker's up at 2, and he's got to get a uniform on, all that shit, and he got to run over from whatever barracks he's living in because they're not putting the instructors in a 5-star hotel like they do with the migrants up in New York City, which to me is another funny story. Let me go off on a caveat there too. Have you seen that shit with the migrants in New York? Someone was saying that, well, these are families that are escaping the jungles and the communism of Venezuela, and they've blah, 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 and they've come here forever, and they're families that are, and I think someone like dropped them off somewhere, remember when the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, they took the Suburbans to a certain spot, and then he grabbed the bike out of the back and pedaled his ass up to the thing. Like, look, I'm green. No, you're not. You just got out of the SUV. Somewhere along the line, they had to these people weren't, they're not sweating like they just, ran a 5K. These dudes are just kind of rolling over, and they're getting to the Rio Grande. They look fine. Anyway, but then they get them up to New York City, and they put them in this hotel in Midtown. And it's a nice hotel, but then it turns out they're not families. They're just a bunch of the way I looked at it, it looked a lot like the porn my brother watches, just a lot of dudes on top of each other and a lot of drinking and whatnot. But they're ruining the hotel, and they're out in front, and now they're saying, well, no, we can't go there because it's not there was one dude, I'm convinced the leftist activists are all over this. They're the ones fueling the fires everywhere because someone's paying them off. Somewhere the people behind the scenes at the big table where there's 160 guys in one place and there's 160 private jets type shit told them they got to spin this up. I don't know why they're doing it, but they're getting paid by some of the activists are doing it. And there's dudes outside saying, well, yeah, they want to take us out of this nice hotel and they want to put us in a place, and there's 4 bathrooms for 1,000 men. And that's just unsanitary, and these beds are like military beds. And I'm like, dude, you just described boot camp. We got fucking 50 dudes, one shitter. But yeah, so that they're not putting the recruit division commanders up in places. These are normal dudes just trying to get along with their life, and I think the sooner you realize that, the better you're gonna be. That most people are just doing their own thing, and they're just trying to get on with their life. And it's not the movies, and they're not some special genius talking head, and that won the election that was just tightening their tie, and the teeth are clanking and shining, and they're just telling you the damn truth. They're just trying to get on with it. So when I was thinking, I mean, it's crazy to think 27 years ago is when it all started. And I don't give a shit who you are. We had your first day, right? Like everyone that I worked with at SEAL Team 6 had their first day at boot camp, which is crazy to think about. And 27 years, and even back then, and I've mentioned before how the realization that we're all kind of the same, we're all from different corners of this country. Well, I mean, we had dudes that were there from the Philippines in boot camp that I don't know how, it's like the Singaporeans at Bud's. Like for some reason, they just sent them here, and dudes couldn't even speak a lick of English. I remember some dudes from Singapore, wherever they were from, they couldn't speak English. Like, we need to teach you English. You need to get rolled back. And the only thing that I remember, there was one dude, the only thing he could say in English was, what? 3 weeks? 3 weeks? 3 weeks? They got to teach this dude English before he can swab the dick, apparently. But yeah, so they're sending to all this spot, and we're learning that all these dudes are all just the same thing. We realize, what the fuck am I doing here? Why did I make such a bad decision? But again, how you get comfortable. You're going to get comfortable where you are, and you took the shot, and you potentially made a good investment in yourself if you take advantage of what you can learn, and everything like I was talking about from naval traditions and fucking making your bed the right way. That's cool. How to fold your clothes. I still sometimes, I don't stencil my T-shirts too much, but stuff like that. Learn how to be efficient. Like in the Navy, in the Marine Corps, they're teaching you how to fight. And I think in the Army, they're teaching similar stuff like that. The Air Force, they're doing whatever Air Force dudes do. And then in the Navy, they're teaching you how to live in a fucking in a bed. And all you get on a ship is you get your bed, and you can lift the bed up, and underneath it, you got your locker under your bed, and that's your shit. And maybe a little foot locker over here. That's it. They're teaching you how to live like that. And if you take advantage of some skills, you might get there. One of the shortcuts that we learned, the first day we got there, it's like, okay, waking up sucks. And especially in a place like this, one of the things that I really disliked about boot camp was the lack of sleep, because it's not you're not waking up at dawn. You've been up since you're awake, and you don't go to bed right away, and a lack of sleep. So I remember the first day we're in our division, everyone kind of mopes up. We know we got a certain amount of time to get our dunga jams on. Or I don't think we're wearing dunga. What the hell were we wearing? We were wearing whatever. We're wearing sweats. Yeah, we had Navy sweats because you graduate to dungarees. And once you're in dungarees, you get your green belt with your canteen on it, and they called that the booger belt, a green belt. And then once you get to your last week, you got the white belt and the motherfucking sugar belt. But the first day, we're in there, and dudes are groggy, and, fucking dudes are showering. There's like probably 12 shitters, I guess. No doors on the shitters, which is important for the story. And, every sink's taken. Guys are shaving because you got to shave and brush their teeth. And then they like, whatever, it's obviously a setup. They come in and fuck with us, and they put us back in front of our bunk beds, and they go through, and it's a shit show. People aren't dressed all the way. Obviously, the head, not the can, is a complete mess, and we get the Navy version of hammered. I don't know what the hell that is. They punished us somehow. I'm sure that it was stupid. And so they explained to us, it was over the course of the next few days, like, look, this all needs to be clean. And so what we decided, but I'm pretty sure everyone thinks of this because what is invention is necessity, invention of, what I'm saying. We figured if we just clean everything the night before, maybe we'll just use 2 sinks and 2 shitters, and we'll like rotate. So we'll just get in line with each other for the greater good. Like communism, that shit works. The greater good for the community. Communism. 2 shitters, 2 sinks, and meanwhile, other guys are either making their beds or helping each other make the beds. And we're learning shortcuts how to like only sleep under certain parts, like have your hospital corners made and all that nonsense, and then sleep underneath this, and then you can do that. But we decided that was cool. So, and I remember somehow, like, this is how intimate you get, and once you realize that, there's people that say it doesn't matter what, we all bleed red. So we're all the same inside. We're all trying to get through. I remember, and this is awkward, I said there were no doors on the shitters, or the commodes as we would call them. And I got in there first somehow, and I'm just doing the morning business like you do, even though we don't get coffee in the Navy, I don't think, at boot camp. And you're sitting there doing your thing. You don't have a paper to read. We don't have iPhones. So you're just looking at your buddy. And he's there, and buddy behind him. And I remember just sitting there, just trying to not make too awkward a face. And it's almost like to break the silence. You're like, I don't know, man, you want to thumb wrestle a little bit? Help me get this bad boy out. But that's, that became normal, and that's as awkward and stupid as that sounds. It's a weird type of, doesn't matter where you're from, man. We're all in this together, and I guess I was just the fastest one to the shitter today. Tomorrow I might be in line, or maybe I get a shave first, or whatever. And then you go through the Navy stuff, and you get to know each other pretty well. The only thing you don't get to know is each other's deepest darkest secrets, unless you stay up late at night and listen, which I wouldn't want to do. But then little shit too, there were guys that wanted to go to Bud's, guys that wanted to get a little extra PT. It's what you can make the most out of your day. Because the commodes don't have doors, but they do have a crossbar, pull-ups, right? Go knock out some pull-ups. Go in the back where no one's listening. Well, I hope you don't run into people who are doing what they shouldn't be doing, because like I said, hey. Anyway, you knock out some push-ups back there, whatever. Even at the point where, because you're not talking to each other, even at chow. So you want to get a chance just to bullshit a little, talk about your girl back home, talk about your favorite food or whatever, what your mom used to make. I wonder what they're doing back there, and then you're learning the team, and then you do get comfortable. You do get used to where you're at. You're going to get used to where you're at, and that's what we have in common: is time's going to heal it. No matter what it is, no matter what you're worried about, time's going to heal it. Time moves. It's going to be okay. The shit you're worried about is probably not going to happen anyway. So stop worrying about it. Enjoy the moment. Take advantage of your time. Get to know your team, and if you get bored, take a shit with the door open. I don't know, but we always end up talking about guns for some reason. I like bringing it up, too, just because I always mention pump-action shotguns that I like for my home, and I get shit for that. But there's nothing wrong with being proficient in a couple different things. And, guns are part of our society. And I think the best way to to be safe with guns is to know how to use them. Don't be afraid of them. Know how they work, and teach people that want to know how they work. Keep them in a safe place, but you can have fun with them. I always bring up F1 firearms because I know how to use different kinds of guns, and shotguns aren't just one of them. Like 9mm pistols, AR-10s, AR-15s, F1 firearms makes them, and they're just cool looking. There's just kick-ass anodized colors, law enforcement models, military models, stuff like that. They're really, really clean, skeletonized with cutout stuff like that. I say 9mm too. Don't ever say, yeah, my 9. It's kind of like saying, yeah, my magazine clip. Just don't do that shit. Know what you're talking about too, and kind of... Anyway, check out F1 Firearms when you get a chance. My buddy Dion, like I said, makes them out of Texas. We've raffled them, not raffled them, I guess. We've auctioned them off at some events. McTeams has an event that we auction some off. I think Ray Cash Care was shooting one with a flamethrower on it, which, hey, whatever, you do you. It's kind of cool. A chainsaw was on one. We auctioned some off at my golf event that I do every year in Nashville, which is cool, raising money for charity. And if you know how to use them, guns can be fun. Some of my celebrity friends have some that I'm not going to bring them up if they want to bring them up, or you can search F1 Firearms, see some cool pictures of cool people. They're in some movies like Death Wish, Savage Salvation. I guess there's a new movie coming out called Cash Out that you'll see these guns in. Really, really cool guns, and if you know how to use them, it's great to have. Great for home defense too, man. Like it or not, ARs are good, and these are fun. They're clean. Lots of cool add-ons. So just check out F1 Firearms when you get a chance. Not to not be the eternal optimist. I mean, like I said, you're going to get used to it, and some stuff's not going to really change anyway. I mean, some stuff will, some stuff won't. Some stuff will stay the same. I was. Without stuttering all over myself, I was just mentioning that every dude I was with at SEAL Team 6 had their first day at boot camp 27 years ago, and I don't mean to sound like the old man who keeps repeating himself, but that's the case. I mean, think about this. Okay, so that was 1996. 3 years before that was the famed Battle of Mogadishu that became famous in the movie Black Hawk Down. The book Black Hawk Down, the movie Black Hawk Down, which is a fantastic book and an excellent movie. That's still a movie, again, that if it's on, I'll watch it. I wasn't there. I don't know how accurate it was. I was, I think, a junior in high school, but that was in a place called Mogadishu, Somalia. And then, I joined in 96, 98, 2009. We're jumping over on the coast of Somalia. Why? Because, Captain Richard Phillips taken by Somali pirates. Why were there Somali pirates? Well, not because they were terrorists, because sometimes people just live in shitty places and they're trying to either feed themselves, feed their families, feed their khat addiction, K-A-K-H-A-T, khat, which is that thing you chew on and I guess you get high. Or, they're doing what Somalia. So what are we at, 2023? What did SEAL Team 6 just do? Just did a raid on what? Somalia. Same fucking names. It's Somalia. I mean, what's the interest in Somalia? Not all of a sudden. We've always been there. The interest in Somalia was, you got to figure, okay, if we're going to keep it real, how long has Somalia been around? Well, we're talking, this is a place that no shit Muslims from Mecca escaped to get away from persecution, like when they started Islam. Place has been around. It's Somalia. It was formed as a country, I guess, after World War II, like a lot of countries, because, same names, because Britain was not occupied, but it was their territory, and somehow it was given over to Italy, which is an Axis power, and that's an entirely different episode. But they got that, and then Somalia gets its independence, and then obviously it turns into some dude that decided he's a colonel or a general with his kick-ass row of ribbons. He decides he's in charge, and it turns into clan fights, and someone that was appointed somewhere gets overthrown, and it turns into this thing, and all of a sudden it's a UN food relief. We're relieving them, and then they get ambushed by the clans and the militias, and then we send in troops. And it just so happens this is around 1993, after the same names. The Russians had been kicked out of Afghanistan, and Bin Laden got kicked out of Saudi Arabia, so he's in Sudan, which is right next door, and they train guys to shoot down helicopters, which they did. And then we run that. I mean, that even leads way into the future. How if you attack the Americans, they're going to leave. If when we first during Jawbreaker in September, October of 2011 or 2001, sorry, right after the towers fell, and we invaded Afghanistan. We had CIA guys there, some SF guys, a couple SEAL Team 6 guys, and the warlords up there in Afghanistan were saying, I'll lose 500 of my troops compared to getting one American hurt, because we know damn well that if an American gets hurt or, God forbid, killed, the Americans are leaving. And that was like our reputation, and that went all the way back to Somalia. and the same names. Bin Laden's there. So this guy that we just killed, his name was Bilal al-Sudani, meaning that's Bilal from Sudan. They keep it real. Like I'd be Rob Al Butte, Montana, but they killed him on a raid that SEAL Team 6 did. And these are guys that probably weren't in the Navy when I got out. And now they're at SEAL Team 6, and now they're doing these helicopters. And I don't even know where they're coming from, too. I'll be honest. I wasn't on that raid, obviously. I was probably here running my mouth about something. But they came in from somewhere, and we have bases some places over there. There's some that we left, like in Yemen, but they might be back. I'm assuming a flat top. We do have ships in and out. Maybe that's why Somalia is so important, because it's off the coast on the Horn of Africa when you come out of the Suez. Or, it could be because it's near places like Zambia, where we are realizing there's a shit ton of copper, and that part of Africa where we can get a whole bunch of stuff that makes the magic electric car batteries that no one gets hurt. God forbid you talk about the slave labor or the open pit mines where you shouldn't have a person, but there's 30,000 people in there digging with their hands. Maybe that's why we have interest in Africa, because we're going to always follow the money. We're always going to follow the fight. But now we got dudes doing raids off of flat tops in Somalia, which and I get a kick out of it too. I mean, there are certain ways that certain things that I'm not going to get into work as far as targets that we can hit. We're doing drone strikes in places. We're not at war anywhere except, Ukraine soon, or, China or whatever we're going to do. But there are places too where you can get a certain level of not delegation, but it's like bi-direction, that if this target pops, you can get him. And that's pretty good for this president too, because he's ears deep in a big waffle cone full of delicious ice cream. But there was one of these guys, and it's Bilal al-Sudani, who's from Sudan. It's Bilal. I talked about him, B-Dog from Sudan. Where they were planning this raid, and they said they're going to go get him, and that's kind of like Team 6's AO would be in that part of Africa, and I think Delta's going to be up in Syria, and we still got guys in Syria. They're serious in Syria. And it's one of those targets that came up that instead of a drone strike, we're going to send these guys in so we can capture them. And I wasn't there, but I'm like, good, yeah, you send SEAL Team 6 in to capture them. I've seen that happen before, and I might have mentioned this in tactical operation centers when we'd watch like Delta do a vehicle interdiction on a couple of vehicles, and then there's squirters or splitters, and these the vehicles go to different directions, so we got to launch not a QRF necessarily, but some other guys to go in there, and they one of the targets that we went on, these guys went into this house, and like, yeah, we're going to send Team 6 into there, and they said, someone said, why don't you just go kinetic, meaning hit him with an airstrike, and one of the Brits goes, they're sending Team 6, mate. It's kind of like going kinetic. And like, hey, bring one back to us. It was even like a raid that I saw one time, and I'm not going to get into which one it was, but watching guys go up on target, and you can see the bad guys, and you hear troops in contact, target secure, 19 dead, or whatever they say, EKIA, and it's like, dude, give it a minute. Pretend. But they sent these dudes in, same place, Somalia. Send some guys in on helos, probably Army pilots, kick-ass Somalia, go in there. The only thing different about it was I guess one of our dogs bit one of our guys. And again, I don't know. I didn't get the after-action report. I'm assuming. And right now, if any operator's listening to this that was on the raid, he's going to think I'm a dickhead if he doesn't already. But they said one of our dogs bit one of our guys. And I actually called one of our dog guys from when I was in, and I said, because it seems like the guys that run the dogs are always a dog guy, and that's just cool. They have a great rapport, and they're really good with dogs. And I said, it seems like it looks like one of the assaulters got bit by the dog, huh? And he goes, yeah, but these are the newer guys doing it. Some of these old dogs got to keep the new pups in line, because I guess the dog bit one of the guys. Somalia. Well, it has been one of those days. Hey, have you ever heard of ketones? It's a natural source of fuel for your body. When your body has used up all the stored carbs, they're depleted, and it transfers fat into energy. But ketones are fuel that, unlike fats, they can cross the blood-brain barrier. So it like powers your body and your mind. And it's like I discovered this stuff called ketone IQ. It's like a super fuel shot for your brain and your body, but there's no sugar and there's no carbs in it. You can find it at hvmn.com, as in health via modern nutrition. You can get ketone IQ, and I get them in these little shots. You can get a little shot to zap yourself with energy anytime you want. They come in bottles, 10 servings per bottle. And if you go to hvmn.com and use the code THEOPERATOR, you get 20% off. Again, that's hvmn.com, code THEOPERATOR. Hotel Victor, Mike November.com. Health via modern nutrition. Check out Ketone IQ. super fuel for your mind and body. You know, and if you look at it too, you wouldn't think this because the country of Somalia is so skinny, with obviously no pun intended. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that Somalia has the most coastline of any African country, and I could be wrong, but I know it's shaped like that weird number 7, and I've heard that too. But again, like I said, it's there. Borders Kenya. We have interest in Kenya. Ethiopia is right there, and we're still training troops in different places like that, and then. And it's for the counter-terror threat, because in Somalia there's Al-Shabaab, which is an Al-Qaeda-linked thing, and then there's ISIS. That's they're a lot of them are out of Sudan. They're moving into Mozambique and places like that, and ISIS all over the place. And they're the ones that want the Islamic State, and they want like the Central African Caliphate, which is the same shit they're trying up in they were trying in Syria. They're probably still going to try again. Al-Qaeda's got the same vision, sort of, and almost the same version of Sunni Islam, but they seem to fight. But if you notice and do any research, it's like a dude like this Sudani guy. He was Al-Shabaab, but then he got traded to ISIS or whatever, however they do it. Like, we'll take 2 first-round picks in 2025, and you get this motherfucker. But like, it's a lot of the Islamist extremists there that they're kind of under the same banner, but it always seems like Al-Qaeda's a little bit late to the party and has to make a fucking phone call and like call them and say, because like Al-Shabaab's really brutal. They're no Boko Haram, which is another different story that we're dealing with. And then you got ISIS, you got the Taliban, which just wants their fucking values, they want to stay there. But then other people start waving the banner of ISIS. And this guy Sudani, what he was doing is they were saying how creative he was. He was like I don't know. They make him sound like an Austin Powers African version. Like, they're saying like he's the international arms dealer, but he's a fundraiser, and how creative he was. I'm like, what did he say? Stick him up in 5 languages? It's like they extort, man. They set up checkpoints, they raise money, then they send it somewhere, or they bring guys other places, and they go kill people and they cut heads off. And then Boko Haram, different animal. But we've been dealing with Somalia and Africa a lot, but we're seeing it get more and more involved, and that is because of the cobalt. It is because of the copper. It is because of the stuff that, like, there are people going to places in Africa right now. Janet Yellen went over there and they're like, these are, look, being as sensitive as possible. Some of these villages where they go, a lot of these countries, they don't have electricity. These are some of the greenest places that they can go. These are they live the greenest lives possible. Keto diets, man. They're keeping it real, but they're earning their keep. And then we sent our people over there. They look like my high school math teacher rolling over there, telling them about, if they decide to go green, we'll build the windmills. And this is happening. We'll build the windmills for you so that we can sustain it when we're just bullshitting. And why don't you dig up all this copper for us so we can build the windmills here and we'll power you up. Yet we need to keep pumping our copper back because we have plenty of it. We have our own stuff in the United States, but we're going to have you do it because no one's going to watch here. And we'll just monitor you with our 3-letter agencies. And, you get back here, again, an entire different subject. You start getting with different 3-letter agencies. God forbid you get in the EPA and all that bullshit. The only 3-letter agency I trust is RJO. That's what I'm talking about. But we're getting closer and closer to Africa because of all the stuff that's happening, because of the natural resources that we can exploit. China's in there right now taking it. And they're already taking the shit out of Afghanistan, the stuff that we dumped there. But we're noticing this. We're getting closer into Africa, and we're seeing the players move, and why are we still fighting these guys? They're the Islamic international terror. That's fine, but okay, we did a strike on a dude from Sudan who was Al-Shabaab, and now he's ISIS. Why? Because we're all about our national security. No, we're fucking not. If we cared about our national security, we wouldn't have an open border either side, but we have both, because it has nothing to do with. If we cared about defeating terrorism, we wouldn't have lost Afghanistan. There are men and women out there right now fighting in Syria. They're gonna be there again. Same names. They're not going anywhere. And then, God forbid, someone comes across the southern. I don't know. I don't mean to get too into it, but we're following the money. Where does the money go? Look at Ukraine right now. Whatever. There are people dying. That sucks. That's bullshit. I hate it. And they were invaded. That sucks. And I don't like that people are dying. It's tragic. And the stuff that's going on that we know about is tragic. But we're certainly defending the shit out of Ukraine, certainly pumping a lot of money into Ukraine. We're not going to start a war, but we're going to give you 31 tanks. And did you notice that you can't quite get the answer? Is it going to be 31 tanks that, of the hundreds, maybe 1,000 or more that we have in Europe already? They want to give them the Abrams, the M1A1. Why don't you just give them some of them? Why do we got to make new ones? It's going to take a year to get them because we got to make them. Why? We don't have them? Oh, that's right. Because if we don't make them from scratch, your buddy that you signed a contract with that the congressman just traded the shares for the company for wouldn't get their cash. Got it. obviously I mean, it's under the banner of defend democracy because that's what we do, right? That's what they're saying that we do, defend democracy. Okay, I agree. I agree that what Vladimir Putin is doing bad, but you're going to start a world war at some point. I mean, maybe, hopefully, these powers that be aren't stupid enough to start a world war, but are they? I mean, at what point? Like, you know, when the Russians are helping the Vietnamese because we're stopping the spread of communism, they were helping, but they weren't announcing it. And then we're helping the Mujahideen fight the Russians, same names, in Afghanistan. We're helping through Pakistan, but we're not really. We're not saying we're helping. But now we're helping, but they're not NATO. We're trying to stop the spread of communism and preserve freedom. He's trying to stop the spread of Ukraine into NATO. But now everything's kind of on the board. Now, hey, we're going to send some tanks. We're going to send some Bradleys. How long before we send them F-16s? The president said he wasn't going to send in armor, but now we are. New ones too. And I'm not a tanker, but I've seen them. At an M1 Abrams, man, that thing is the balls. Like, I'm talking, these things can do shit on the fly. Like, the body of the turrets, the body of the thing is moving on the damn things, and the turret's staying still, and it's going to blast at you. And it doesn't have armor. It has depleted uranium, like a counter armor, and it shoots like magic shit at you. But no, we got to make them from scratch because we don't have enough, because they're building it up. It's the military industrial complex. Why are we there? And hey, shiny thing, quick, Taiwan. What about Taiwan? We got a 4-star general saying we're going to be at war with China over Taiwan in 2 years. That's a war with China, man. And that's fucking nuts. And why do you think it's because of the map, because of the landmass, or do you think it's because of all the microchips that are being produced in Taiwan? Follow the money. And that's another one too. It's not like Ukraine where you can just all of a sudden you can put some troops in, you can back them out. I put my left tank in, I put my left tank out. That's a fucking amphibious invasion. And that's no longer dealing with, what can these European states do, the ones that have seen it up close, what's Poland going to do to help? This is now this is an amphibious invasion by the Chinese, and now we're talking Australia and Japan. And that's no bullshit. That's when you're that's when the rubber meets the road. That's when you're either all in or you're all out. That's when you're having the war game and you're like, well, we have our carriers that, they're going to shoot a missile at the bridge. Well, we have countermeasures. Oh, you do. What if they shoot 10,000 of them at you? You're legit. And then what if you lose a carrier? How many thousands of people? How many aircraft are on that bad boy? And these are just little things that I'm afraid that you're seeing a lot of these brilliant talking heads on TV talk about because they're smarter than us. No, they're not. These are dudes as dumb as you, and they're making a decision. They don't necessarily have big boy pants on, but they sure do have the big purse. And for some reason, they keep getting the money, and they keep making the tanks. And it always seems to be the same names. But, that's what I'm kind of looking for. But, not being a doomsday, I think the bankroll's too high for someone to really hit the button too fast. But, it just takes one guy who decides it's time to leave the table. Well, we are 1 year into a new year, which means new gear, baby. Dirty diapers, screaming fits, and sleepless nights. Parenthood is not for the faint of heart, and I know. So there's tactical baby gear, which is founded by parents for parents. With kit that you're proud to carry, you'll overcome every spit up, blowout, and meltdown along the way. Prepare for whatever parenting leads you to and look cool with it, like a fully customized tactical diaper bag that's ready, but be ready because this could get messy. They're highly practical, highly functional, and extremely high quality, but they're always ready. And I mean diaper bags, baby carriers, strollers, wagons, everything in between. Lifetime warranty when you go to tacticalbabygear.com. Use the code THEOPERATOR and save 15%. Some of my favorites are there. You got to check out the Veer Cruiser. Functions as a wagon and a stroller. Rugged aluminum frame. All-terrain tires, baby. 3-point safety harness. Molly webbing, which they all have. Children's snack tray. And get a load of this. Adult cup holders, if you know what I'm talking about. There's also the Tactical Baby Carrier 2.0. The baby can face in or out depending on the development stage and the weather, of course. Interior cotton padded machine washable liner, Molly compatible again. Acknowledged by International Hip Dysplasia Institute as hip healthy, very important. Wear your baby like a reserve parachute on a static line jump, baby. Go to tacticalbabygear.com, get 15% off when you use the code THEOPERATOR. Tacticalbabygear.com, 15% off. God, guns, and diapers, baby. So I'm not trying to be the negative Nancy. I'm not trying to be all negative. I do point some certain things out because there are people that make bad decisions. myself included. And there are people making decisions for the wrong reasons. And I point out different spots of the world, follow the money, that whole thing. Why are we in different conflicts? Well, we're doing it for a lot of personal reasons, some strategic reasons, a lot of political reasons. But we also need to realize what we're capable of and what we've done, because we do disagree with some of the ways that we have entered wars and exited wars. Like the Iraq War is a prime example. Did we need to invade? No. Should we have left? No. Very, very complex. What were the reasons? Doesn't matter. At the time, I mean, emotions were high to invade Iraq because of 9/11. Some people took advantage of it based on political stuff, and we're going to need certain things, and yeah, that happened, whatever, and we pulled out for some political reasons, and stuff happens. I mean, everything you do is going to have a consequence, and obviously the Afghanistan pullout is the big one because people felt bad about that. Again, political reasons. But you got to remember, I think it's important that no matter what happened, especially with the veterans, every time we met the enemy, take rules of engagement out of it, take politics out of it. When we met the enemy, we kicked their ass, and it's that simple. When it gets very, very simple, when it gets down to the basic, when it gets down to the micro level, toe-to-toe, we kick their ass every single time. And you got to remember that. That's what we do. We let a lot of first world problems get into our way, and we make things very, very complex. We don't need to get complex. Sometimes you don't need to talk yourself into getting into a fight. Don't talk yourself into an ass whooping. Keep it simple. And when we kept it simple, we won. And you got to remember that. We went there for the right reasons. We kicked their ass. We did what we came to do, and it was a mess getting out. But when we fought, which is what we're supposed to do, when we're supposed to break things, we broke them. When we're supposed to beat people, we beat them. When we're supposed to kill people, we killed them. Period. And there's a group right now called the Wagner Group. They're based out of Russia. They're a Russian mercenary group, and they're all over the world. It's an easy way for plausible deniability. They can do a lot of military stuff without being military, but these are guys on the take. These are guys getting paid to be professional soldiers. They're in Africa. They're in Mali, which is a country in Africa, trying to get the best interest, trying to get the natural resources, just like everyone else is kind of doing right now, but that's a group that's doing it. What they're also doing, that's the crew that's recruiting, because Ukraine has turned into a mess for Mother Russia. And they're getting bogged down, and there's a lot of stuff going on we don't know about, a lot of stuff going on we do know about. We do know a lot of innocent people are getting killed. We know that's bad. But Russia's getting beat when we supply the Ukrainians with fighting capabilities. So they're recruiting. They're recruiting the Afghans that we train. They're recruiting people from other countries. They're recruiting all over the world. What they're doing now is they're trying to recruit Americans, American veterans especially, and they're trying to use bad morale against us. They're building us up but tearing us down. They're saying that we went into these places for the right reasons, and then we were betrayed by tyrannical governments, and they're just really trying to spin it. I don't know if you've seen the commercials yet, but that's the Wagner Group doing it. They're about 50,000 strong, and they're trying to take advantage of the fact that they think that we lost. We didn't lose. Like I said, we kicked their ass every time. Someone made the decision to put us there. Sometimes the fight picks you. But no matter where we were, we did what we do. We kicked their asses. You can't forget that. When we were there, again, the reasons for being there don't matter. Sometimes it comes down to the guy you're in the room with, one other dude. At the micro level, sometimes it's just you and him, and that's why you're fighting. You're not fighting for the flag or apple pie. You're fighting for the guy next to you, and that's enough. And it's important to realize at that moment, at that critical moment in your life when you're fighting, you're not alone. Even if it's that guy right next to you, you are not alone. And that's a case right now. You've never been alone, and you're not alone right now. And you got to remember that. If you're having a shitty day, you got to call someone because they might be having a good day. And I've said this before. If you're having a good day, call someone. They might be having a shitty day. But I was thinking about it earlier, and the missions that we went on, they did come down to a point, to the point of conflict. But we never got there alone. Think about the team. I thought about the team that I had. The team of intel folks, the intel crew that found the target to go to, found the house that was in the village, and how we're going to get there. The team is the chaplain who said the prayer over the team before you get on the helicopter, because a missile only needs to be right one time. The team is the air crew that kept the bird flying on the way in, and especially the pilots that are getting us there. The navigation systems that they use, the person who programmed those, how we get in, it's when you get on the ground, it's the intel folks that are on the ground with the weapon, finding the people using the intel that we have. It's the guy next to you when you go in the room. That's your team. It's the close air support. It's the DAP. It's the Apache. It's the attack helicopter, the fast movers, the pilot flying those, the dude who put the missiles on, the mechanic who makes sure the birds can fly. God forbid if something happens, it's the close air support pilots that come in that air crew. And when you get back, it's the surgeons and the medical crew that's there. When you get home after a mission where you kicked everyone's ass, which we always do, it's the comms guy who set up the phone so you can call home. Just to let them know, even though you can't tell them where you are, you can let them know that you're safe. It's the Seabees who put the showers together so you can have a nice shower after you're done kicking ass. And then it's the mess crank dudes that put the chow hall together, the people who brought the food so you can eat. That team, we won every time. You cannot change how you got there. You're just there. You can't change the decisions that made you get there, but you can control how you respond. You can't control how it made you feel, but you can control how you respond to it. You were never alone then. You're not alone now. Our team always wins. And it all starts with mastering the basics. Take responsibility. Just own it. Master the basics. Tell yourself the truth and learn from it. It's simple to understand if you break it down. If you want to be fast, slow down, take a breath. It's simple to understand. It won't be simple to do. It's easy to understand. It won't be easy to do. And life has tried to mess with you before. And it will again. You know why? Because that's life. But you're still in the fight. We're still the good guys. There's plenty of adversity, but you can keep showing up. You may need to take a break. You may need to come at from a different angle. That's fine. If you need to take a break, slow down, reassess, and attack it from a different angle. But you're still breathing, which means you're still here. And if you see the sun come up in the morning, it lets you know you're never out of the fight.